In this video, I'd like to share my top 3 craziest guitar deals. These are the deals which I've either got a really good deal on, ones that have kind of been sleeper investments, and one that I got a complete steal on, which I'm going to tell you all about in this video. But just before I begin, I'd like to say that I have a free beginner jazz guitar course, so if you're interested in learning jazz guitar, then I have designed a program which is really aimed at the complete beginner. So if you want to get access to that and you want to enroll in my new online jazz guitar school, then please check out the link below and grab a seat and start learning jazz. I'm going to kick off this list by telling you about the guitar which I've had the most difficulty selling. This took me ages to sell, and I eventually just took a loss on the guitar because I just wanted it gone. The guitar which I'm talking about is a Nigel Crimson Telecaster, and don't get me wrong, this was a great guitar in a lot of ways. It played and sounded great, and if you go back and look at some of my old videos from about 10 years ago, then you can hear some examples of that guitar. I remember when I first bought the guitar. At the time, I tried a friend's Crimson Telecaster, which was a great guitar, and I was really impressed by the feel, sound, tone of this Telecaster. At the time, he did not want to sell me that Telecaster, and ironically, it actually came up for sale about a year after that. But you know what it's like when you try a guitar that you like. If you've got a bit of a one-track mind, sometimes all you can think about is getting a guitar like the one that you really like. So that was kind of my way of thinking. So anyway, I got word that one was available. So at the time, I actually didn't drive either. So I had to get, I think it was 2 trains to get this guitar, and it was a Saturday afternoon. I went into this guitar shop, the guy knew that I was coming, tried it, really liked it, and you know, this was the story to how much I liked the guitar. It was in like a massive hard case. So after I left the guitar shop, I took the big hard case, walked back to the train station, got the 2 trains home, and yeah, continued to like and play that guitar for, you know, a couple of years. Used it on a few gigs, things like that. But the reason why I didn't like that guitar, and the reason why I wanted to sell it, was because the finish kept kind of flaking off all the time. It was a heavy relic guitar, so every time I picked it up, it seemed like more of the paint was just dropping off. So that really started my dislike for heavy relic guitars. I don't mind a light relic really, but heavy relics, yeah, not really into that. So I decided to sell it, and that's kind of where the problems begun, and where I learned kind of a big lesson, at least then, was that if you ever have a guitar which is, you know, well into 4 figures, at least that's what I invested in it, then it's unless it's got a big name on the headstock, it can be quite hard to sell. So that was the kind of first problem, is that I had a Fender style guitar which didn't say Fender on the headstock. So yeah, you know, people like Fender and Gibsons, so that was one reason why it was hard to sell. And the second reason was that it was a heavy relic, and I think those are very subjective really. You'll find that people either love or hate relic guitars. So it's kind of like, you know, I had a double 2, you know, contributing factors that were going to make that guitar hard to sell. So I eventually sold it to a guy who was a really nice guy, and it was quite a funny story because I think I took quite a loss on that. I can't remember how much. I think I've erased it from my memory. I think I sold that for about £900, and I think I had about 1,300 in it or something like that. So yeah, that was about maybe a £300 or £400 loss. But yeah, the guy that I sold it to seemed to really like it, and he was really happy with it, and I think that he got a good deal really. And I think that it was a funny deal because I think he told me when I was packing it up to put a lower price than what I sold it to him on the guitar, because he had such a problem buying guitars, and he said that as soon as a guitar came to him, he was going to take his partner out for a meal to kind of tell her the news that he bought another guitar. So that was probably the guitar which I've lost the most amount of money on. Let's roll on the next piece of gear. This next guitar is one of the very first guitars which I ever bought online. I actually bought it from America, and it's kind of a funny story because at the time, this was going back to, I think it was around 2007, I was really into blues, old blues records, and I wanted kind of an older parlor guitar, you know, the ones that you see people like Charlie Patton play and all those kind of old blues players. And they rarely kind of come up in the UK, and I had a friend who's a fantastic blues guitar player, very knowledgeable about kind of all these sleeper guitar brands like Harmony, Kay, all those kind of guitar brands, American guitar brands, which had some really great models that were kind of used sometimes by blues players. And this was kind of, in one sense, in the earlier days of the internet, so not as many people knew about things as what they do now. I think these days it's very hard to find, you know, a guitar that no one has no idea what they're selling. So this particular guitar was an Oscar Schmidt parlor guitar, and this was listed on eBay in America as just kind of like an old acoustic guitar. And this friend of mine was kind of a collector as well, so he already had a lot of these guitars, and he had actually bought several guitars off eBay that were just listed as old acoustic guitars, which is, you know, what people thought they were. And he sent me this link saying, you know, you've got to buy this, and it was an Oscar Schmidt parlor guitar, and I think it was either an auction or a buy it now. So it was a long time ago at the time of recording this video, and if memory serves me correctly, I think I had it for under £100, and it might have come to slightly over £100 with shipping. It's, like I said, a long time ago, but it was a very little amount, and even in those days it seemed like a really good deal compared to, you know, what they would go for if you were buying them off a dealer's website or something like that. So I was very nervous about buying this guitar. You know, I don't think I bought a guitar online. I bought one guitar online before then, which was a Japanese Telecaster. But this was from America as well. So I thought, well, what if something happens? What if, you know, there's any problems in the postage or something like that? But none of that actually happened. It was a really smooth and easy transition, really, transaction even. And when the guitar came, I thought, yeah, it was in beautiful condition as well, this kind of Oscar Schmidt guitar, and it was a really killer blues guitar. But to be fair, I never just kind of got on with it. I don't know why. The strings never sounded that clear, even though it was in really good, clean condition. You know, looking back now with hindsight, maybe it needed some new frets, maybe it needed a fret dress. I did get the guitar set up and it improved it some, but the strings always had kind of like a dead dullness to them. So I don't know, that could be the frets, that could be the note. It's hard to say without kind of, you know, playing the guitar again. But I did enjoy that guitar nonetheless for a couple of years, and I did enjoy owning it and playing it. But then another guitar came up. It was my Gibson ES-125, and at that point I was much more into jazz, so I decided to move that one on, and I think I easily got back what I paid for it and a little bit more, just because those guitars are so rare in the UK. So I suppose that was a really good deal looking back, and if I would have held on that guitar for longer, it would probably be worth quite a bit more money now. So that was kind of one of the more positive deals that that I've had in my experience buying and selling guitars. The last guitar deal that I'd like to tell you about is kind of a bittersweet story. So going back again to my kind of primitive years as a guitar player when I was into blues, I used to have a Strat as my main guitar, which I still have, the Strat. And I was really into players like Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, etc. So I was looking for a good overdrive pedal, and at the time there was a lot of rave about Boss blues drivers and the Boss overdrive pedal, and of course the original Tube Screamers and the reissued Tube Screamers, and they were kind of the pedals that everyone were going on about. This is, you know, 2006, 2007, something around that time. Anyway, there's a guitar shop here in Leeds called Northern Guitars, which I'm sure local viewers will definitely know that shop. And at the time, there used to be a fantastic blues guitar player that used to work at that shop. He was actually one of the two owners of the shop, called Dusty Miller. And like I said, I'm sure that local viewers that are fairly close to Leeds will know all about Dusty. He was a great player who could kind of do the Hendrix thing really well, and he could also play like Peter Green very well, and he kind of had his own sound as well because he kind of played the guitar. He was a left-handed player, but he, like Hendrix, he used to play right-handed guitars, strung left-handed, and he used to play with his fingers instead of a pick. And anyway, one day I was just kind of in the shop and I was asking him what's a good Tube Screamer type pedal, and this was like 2006, 2007. he couldn't recommend the Bad Monkey, the Digitech Bad Monkey pedals highly enough. So he said they're better than Tube Screamers, and these are the pedals that you really want to get. They can do everything a Tube Screamer can and more, because they also have the EQ. Like, you can adjust the kind of the bass and the treble on a Bad Monkey, which I don't think you can do on a standard Tube Screamer, if memory serves me correct. And the reason why that's kind of potentially interesting is because, as many kind of gear interested players will know, earlier this year in 2023, there was kind of a big rise in price in Digitech Bad Monkey pedals, because there was one channel, I'm not really sure what channel it is, said that they were good, said that they were better than Tube Screamers, and then the kind of price of Digitech Bad Monkeys, they used to be very cheap, inexpensive pedals, kind of went and shot through the roof over like a day or two or something like that. So unfortunately, the Digitech Bad Monkey, which I have, kind of died a couple of years ago. I still have it, so you know, I guess it could be useful for parts or repairs or something like that. But yeah, basically when I press the pedal down, the overdrive doesn't work, so it's kind of redundant, and I have since replaced that with another overdrive pedal. But yeah, that's kind of the deal that could have been, I guess, because obviously when I got it, you know, no one really was interested in them, so I got that really cheap from a shop called Big Deal. If there's anybody else that's local to Leeds or remembers Big Deal, that was a really great kind of second-hand guitar shop where you could just go and get cheap, great deals all the time. So many of my college lunch breaks were spent hunting around there to find cheap pedals and cheap guitars and stuff. So yeah, that wraps up kind of the third craziest guitar deal, I guess, or you know, the would-be deal if the pedal was still working. So yeah, I hope you found those stories entertaining, and please let me know in the comment section below, what is the craziest guitar deal that you've got, either one that you've perhaps maybe made some money on, one that you've lost a substantial amount of money on, or the one that could have been. Perhaps this could be a situation like my Bad Monkey, or maybe a guitar that you had a while ago that you wish you'd have kept because it would be worth significantly more than what you sold it for way back when. So yeah, if you like this video, please subscribe to this channel and click like for more videos like this.